All right, so for chapter 2, I found it interesting implementing tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving, successes and obstacles in making day to day mathematics high level. I found this one interesting because it does address my personal experience with using tasks in my classroom. Um, there's a lot of pushback from students, from parents, because we still have way too many teachers who teach math in a way that is just procedural, just copy me, I'll show you how to do it, mimic me. And when I come in and I expect authentic thinking to happen, there's pushback and I'm accused of not teaching. But here are a few points from the chapter that were important to me. The use of tasks in teaching mathematics has not taken hold on a national scale. Definitely seen that my own experience. For students to learn mathematics with understanding, they must have opportunities to engage on a regular basis with tasks that focus on reasoning and problem solving and make possible multiple entry points and varied solution strategies. Um, yeah. So So what is a good mathematics task? It's definitely not do this, do that, do this, do that. Um, just because, you might be asking students to do some high level procedural math skills doesn't mean the task is really getting them to learn it. I've been teaching with Eureka Math for 5 years now, and I still get pushback. And it's been in the parish a lot longer, in our school district a lot longer than 4 years, a lot longer, or 5 years. It was well established as our curriculum when I began teaching math there. Um, but teachers still are not using it with fidelity. They are still not teaching it in the manner that it should be, that encourages students to think mathematically. I still get students who say, "Oh, I only learn math for the test. I don't learn to understand it. I only learn it for the test." And so when they're in my class trying to complete my tasks, even though they're very capable students, they struggle. And one of them keeps telling me, "Teach me this. Teach it to me. You're the teacher. Teach it." And I'm like, "I'm trying to help you think. What do you think? You know this. I want you to do this. When you do this, what conclusions can you draw?" It's like, but they don't want to. And there are some it works perfectly. They're more engaged, they're more excited. They love, one good thing about task is you get to work in a small group. You get to work with your pals. So if you have a group of pals that want to work, it's beautiful. But if you have a group of pals who still think, "Oh, she's not, she just doesn't want to teach us. She's making us do all the work. We want to sit there and gossip." It can be a challenge. And that's the one thing I'm working on for the next time I teach, for the next school year that I teach in. My classes can break up into 5 groups, and oftentimes there might be one that they're off task. They talk, and it's not because they don't have the skills. These are some high level. It's an honors class that I'm teaching. They just don't take the doing a task seriously. They say, "Hey, we're in a group, so we're talking." So yeah, I'm trying to figure out some strategies that once a group is off task, what can I do to get them back on task? Getting back to the chapter, it says a mathematical task is defined as a set of problems or a single complex problem that focuses students' attention on a particular mathematical idea. It should include the intellectual and physical product expected of students, the operations students might use to obtain those products, and the resources available to create those products. 3 important features that tasks should have to promote reasoning and problem solving. They should be interesting and challenging. They should connect with students' prior knowledge. And that's an issue. That's a problem that I get into following Eureka Math, in that Eureka Math is set up that teachers will follow the curriculum so that if I'm teaching eighth graders, I should know what they learned in seventh grade, and that should be their prior knowledge. Luckily, I teach seventh and eighth graders. So my eighth grade algebra class, I know what students should have been exposed to because I teach seventh grade. But I still get them that I get students who don't know what the commutative property of addition is in eighth grade. It's crazy. But anyway, and they should engage students in thinking about math. High-level tasks require complex and non-algorithmic thinking and should include procedures with connection to the concept, to conceptual understanding. A teacher should select tasks that promote reasoning and problem solving and encourage high-level student thinking. And that brings us to productive struggle. And I think that's probably the one area that has brought, some grief upon me from pushback. Not just parents and students, but even supervisors who aren't familiar with best practices or what's considered best practice anymore. Of course, oftentimes we are evaluated by someone who's not a math person, like the person that was evaluating me was an EL person. And she basically wanted to direct me to teaching step by step the procedure. And I tried to explain to her productive struggle and how I'm not supposed to run in and rescue the students when they're struggling. I can guide them, I can provide scaffolding, but it's not about me saving them whenever they're struggling through something. They have to talk it out with their group mates and reason through it, which can be beautiful to observe. But yeah, we are not, at least in the school district that I'm in, I don't think we are comfortable with productive struggle. And if your task does not include productive struggle, then I don't think it would be considered a reasonable task. It would not be encouraging what's necessary. The purpose for the task is for a deep understanding of math, of getting these students to construct an understanding of math and not just memorize steps on how to do it. Math is not about memorizing. It's not about tricks. It's not about shortcuts. It's a beautiful language that needs to be understood. I tell my students who give me, like, whenever there's a multi-step problem to solve and all they give me is x is equal to 5. That's all they give me. I tell them, it's like if I were your EL teacher and I asked you to write, an essay, and the only thing you wrote was the last sentence of your essay. Would I really understand your essay? No. And it's the same thing with math. If all you give me is the answer, I don't know what you're thinking. I don't know how you arrived. And that's the answer is irrelevant if I don't know what you were thinking. And I still come across students who I think they think it's too much work to try and understand what they were thinking. And I have this one particular boy in mind. I mean, his math, he was innately mathematical. He could come up with answers quickly. And I've seen this in gifted children before. When you ask them to explain how they get it, they can't. And maybe they can't. It's hard for me to really understand that they can just do the computation and not know what they're doing. I just think, I don't know, they may not want to take the time to explain it. Maybe they're afraid they won't be understood. Maybe they have their own method that they've never seen other people do. I don't know. But I think he enjoyed the fact that he was quick and people admired him, and we called it his magic, because I could put a problem on the board and, in seconds he'd have the answers, and the kids are still just writing the problem on the, writing it down to start working on it. And he'd smile, but if I would ask him to reason through a task and explain to me what he did, he couldn't. So, yeah, he was a nice challenge, and I hope he goes far. I told him he should definitely be an engineer. I don't think he understood what an engineer was, to be honest. Some of these rural kids, they're not exposed to a lot. So, I try to give him some ideas. I hope he goes on because he's got some skills there. He really has some naturally innate skills. I do think that with using tasks in my class, that I have made math lovers out of math haters. I do think so. I had a group of girls who were different, and they probably would identify themselves as cute little girls, but socially different, who bonded together, and you could look at them and know that they were a cohesive group. And they just needed each other and they enjoyed each other and they worked math so well, and um, they helped each other become better in math. uh, and I think that's what teaching by using tasks is all about. It's about that. It's about getting these kids to work together, talk math, use the language, help each other, and bond and understand math at a level that they didn't think they could. So yeah, tasks, very important. So the rest of the chapter goes on to explain, the perspective from a pre-service teacher, and common obstacles, making the day-to-day more high level. Um, but yeah, uh, working in the summer math camp for EL students with a teacher who does not embrace tasks has been a challenge. But I have tried to help her understand, how it can be exciting to see them working, and that you don't have to be in control. You don't have to be the sage on the stage. You got to be the guide on the side, and you can troubleshoot where the skills are. Like when I would troubleshoot, she'd get all I don't know, irritated that I didn't tell the whole class to stop and listen, you know, um, because her thing is, what if I had to explain it again? Well, then I explain it again. I'll explain it as many times as I have to, because I feel like when I explain it to a group, it's personal to them, to that group. And I think they hear me differently than if I say, okay, everybody stop and listen to the teacher. I think it goes over their head. Whereas I make it very personal and intimate, and close, bonded, and that I'm in your circle and I understand what you're doing and I see what you did and I can answer your question. So yeah, we still have to sell the idea to a lot of teachers. We need a lot of in-service. I mean, if a school district is going to adopt a wonderful curriculum like Eureka Math, um, there needs to be better in-service. And it's not that they didn't provide it. I attended some. It's just not everybody goes. So yeah, we've got to be able to get these teachers in service about using tasks, yeah, to better educate our students in mathematics.